Let's get that bread.
残酷な天使のように少年よ神話になれ
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Adcast. It's a podcast for the study of modern visual culture. I am your Genki tour guide to the depths of anime heckles, Renu, and I am joined by my lovely assistant, Soup.
Hello.
And this week we are talking about the Fall 2018 anime because AT stands for Absolute Territory of Fall 2018. But first, before we launch into that discussion, we should update everyone. What have we been up to?
Yeah. See, it's funny because for some reason you were like 8 million volume
Oh.
when you started, but then you were fine. It was weird.
Oh. Well,
Because,
it doesn't show that on mine, so...
that's how we measure things, by saying how much volume it is.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I have not really been up to much, to be honest. I've mostly been doing school. I keep putting this here, but honestly, like, my life is so boring right now.
I mean, not everyone can go to Europe every month.
I mean, unless you live in Europe, in which case you do go to Europe every month.
That's true. You just are existing in Europe.
Right, you just are Europe.
You are Europe.
You are Europe. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been around. I've been reading what I need to read, and I've been cooking food. I have plans to start baking bread because we have a functioning oven in this house. Yeah. So I bought I used my parents' money to buy a Dutch oven with their permission, of course.
Of course.
But yeah, I bought a Dutch oven that's gonna be here at some point, and then I'll start making bread, I guess. And then
That sounds amazing.
And then I'll get it. I'll get that bread.
I want that bread, dude. I love fresh baked
Lord.
bread. Help me.
You tried. Yeah, I'm gonna make regular bread to start with, and then if that experiment goes well, then I'm gonna move on to making sourdough bread.
Ooh, sourdough. You're gonna make your own starter and everything?
Yeah, I mean, I live around the area where that is perfectly fine.
Nice.
The birthplace of sourdough, San Francisco. I feel like I'm close enough, right?
You can get those sourdough vibes and it'll feed into the starter that you make. And
it's true. I mean,
fine.
honestly, it seems like most places are not hesitant about, like, giving you some of their starters. So if I really wanted to, I could just go to a bakery and just be like, so, like, can I have some of your starter?
Please.
Please. But I think it would be a fun kind of thing, like a fun project to do, to make my own starter, and it will be acclimated to my home bacteria, and it will taste like it came from this house and no other.
No other house.
No other house. No
That's
other
awesome.
house. Aside from that, I've been mostly playing Grand Blue Fantasy. I really need to wrap up Valkyria Chronicles because it's just sitting there. I swear to God, I think I'm on the last, like, 3 chapters or so, but I just haven't quite finished it. It's funnily enough, I actually finished 1 chapter because I went home this weekend. I drove to get home, but I only drove home for a night, and by the time I got home, it was, like, pretty late, so I couldn't even have dinner with my family. And at that point, they were just like, why did you even come here? And I was like, I mean, it's a good question that you're asking right there that I don't have an adequate answer for. Mostly I was just going home to see if I could bum some rice because we're running low, and so that my friend could get his headphones so that I could borrow them to use for the podcast so that the sound doesn't bleed all over the place. But then he gave them to me, so now the sound doesn't bleed all over the place, and I didn't have to spend money.
Well, you spent gas money driving home.
Yeah,
in
well, that's
time.
not my money though. I don't pay for that. I don't drive often enough to have to pay for that. But I think my sister does drive often enough for her to have to pay for it, so
She also
you know.
makes bank, though.
It's true, she does make bank. Although it seems like she got into some hot water recently with my parents because of this very reason. It seems that she is spending a little bit too much money on gas. From what it sounds like, since I've been sort of gone for a bit, she's spending less and less time at home. I don't even know if she really lives there anymore.
Uh-oh.
I don't know where she's going. She's going out and doing hooligan things, being a rambunctious youth, I guess.
Bruh, she found a love interest. That's why she's not home.
I mean, listen, I think she has a boyfriend, but I think he lives in like San Diego.
She drives to
So-
San Diego.
Every day
Yes.
she drives down to San Diego. Yeah, that's
Yes.
why she's using so much gas. I should have known.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense in that it makes no sense whatsoever. All right, enough about me. What have you been up to?
I haven't been up to much more. I did binge watch all of Overlord because you recommended it.
Good. How'd you like it?
I really liked it, and I am of the same opinion as you in that as soon as I finished it, I wanted more.
Yeah. I want more. I want more Overlord like right now.
Yeah, it was so awesome. And the whole like final conflict in the most recent season was like, it was so good.
Yeah, totally.
It was like one of those things where I was like, oh no, I really like this character, but this is kind of inevitable that this would happen because of the trajectories that they're on, and oh no.
Yeah, and then he doesn't even get to fight. He just dies.
I know.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that I very much like about Overlord,
Yeah.
and I want more of it immediately.
Immediately. Yeah, that's basically what I've been up to.
You've just been watching anime? We've been watching anime.
Skeletons doing cool things and taking over the world slowly.
You have been watching a lot of skeleton anime. That's true.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically it. I mean, come on. It rained on Halloween. It's not like I could have went out on that day and, I don't know, scared trick-or-treaters or something.
I mean, I guess you're right. Yeah, I totally forgot that it was Halloween.
Yeah.
Because it's just a holiday that doesn't register a large presence in my mind.
Oh, I love Halloween, but it rains every year on that day here. So
Oh, that's sad. We didn't even have that many trick-or-treaters because we, even though we're really close to downtown, we're like on this kind of really sketchy bend where there's very few lights, and it's some of the houses have like chain link fences around them. It's pretty spooky. If I was like a 10-year-old, I would also not want to trick or treat down that way for fear of being shanked and then eaten by monsters.
Lord.
But I promise all the people who live here are not as sketchy as the outward appearance of the houses may suggest. It's just that, I don't know, we're busy college students. We don't have time to do things like decorate for Halloween. Although if we were going to decorate, I would want to put up like a skeleton or something. That'd be fun.
Yeah, like, I mean, if that area is like as sketchy as you say, you could just throw some spider webs and silly string or something and call it a day. The rest of it will do it by itself, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. It's whatever. I have a friend actually who it was the first time he had trick-or-treaters come to his house.
Yeah.
And he was fighting a war out there.
Oh no.
Yeah, because I was in class, but I was reading Discord at the same time, and we were just getting updates about his situation where he was just like, okay, so we're running pretty low on candy.
Oh no.
This is not good.
Oh no.
And he's like, okay, I found some emergency candy.
Oh no.
I found some fruit snacks that might count as candy.
Oh no.
And then he's like, okay, we're completely out of candy. So he drove and bought 4 pounds at Walmart and came back.
4 pounds.
And then he, like, I don't think it lasted even an hour. It was gone.
Wow.
Yeah. So eventually he just, turned his lights off and pretended he wasn't home. The parent strategy of how to survive Halloween.
Well, I mean, I guess as long as his house didn't get like egged or something, you know.
It's true. It's true. It did not get egged, as far as I know.
Meanwhile, I'm over here with an unused large bag of candy that I got last year.
Oh, yeah.
But it's all candy that I like, so
Oh,
if I ever
you
feel
should just
the
eat
need.
it then.
But I mean, I will probably.
There you go. Yeah, I've never had trick-or-treaters come to my house because I've always lived in kind of a secluded area, and this year is no different, except secluded by the general aura of the neighborhood and not necessarily anything else. Yeah.
Just put a pumpkin out.
Yeah, exactly. A pumpkin, just one.
Yeah, a welcoming pumpkin.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about anime?
Yeah, let's talk about fall. So, first, we have Cadachou Circus, which is based on the manga of the same name by Kazuhiro Fujita, who is the creator of Ushio Totora.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Yeah, right? And it's basically, I mean, if you all know JoJo, because it's so, you know, it's making a real comeback right now. It's like JoJo, but with puppets. And all these, if you imagine, instead of stands, it's puppets on strings, and then they attack each other and fight. And it's actually really cool looking. It's not like little puppets. It's just like, it's like giant life-size puppets, and they all are made differently with cool weapons and stuff like that. And you wonder how the heckle anyone can operate such things on strings and such, but they manage it.
They certainly do.
Yeah, it's really pretty. Really, really cool fight scenes. And the basic plot is that there's this young boy who is, I guess, the heir to his father's legacy, and there's a lot of bad people coming after him because of that. And so he has one polka-dotted circus lady protecting him with her puppet. And then there's also another dude who kind of got pulled into this whole situation because he's a good guy at heart, but also like he has a condition where if he doesn't make someone laugh within a certain amount of time, he'll die. And it makes very little sense. Like they try to explain it. It's like, it's a part of a trauma that he's suffered in the past, and it's continuing to haunt him. He hasn't overcome it yet, and that's why he basically like causes it himself, kind of thing. But yeah, it's wacky, but it's fun.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Bloom Into You, or Yagate Kimi ni Naru, which is a gay story.
Very gay.
It is very gay. It's a sweet story about two late bloomers learning how to experience a relationship. So it's two girls in high school, and they just learn how to do feelings, which is nice. I mean,
it's nice, yeah.
It's nice. We aren't super far into it because there's like so much other stuff that's airing this season. That's like,
yeah,
it's actually a pretty good season for anime.
Yeah,
I think generally, most of the things that we started watching, we've kept up with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is interesting because it's not super. How do I say this? It doesn't feel exploitative. Like I don't feel like.
Yes.
I don't feel like it's right. So far, it feels like I'm not getting pandered to as like a dude.
Right. Exactly.
Right. It's just a nice story about two people learning how to do a relationship, which is like. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it feels like kind of a cliche, but I feel like I don't really see that a lot actually.
Yeah,
with
no,
any
me
kind of
neither.
relationships. So
Exactly. Like I think that's like a somewhat not necessarily unexplored, but it's just not like highlighted as much in like high school age or middle school age or whatever. That's the age where you first learn how to relationship if you get into a relationship. And so people don't really focus on like these teenagers who are maybe feeling excluded from their other friends because they've never had romantic feelings for someone, or, you know, or someone of the opposite gender, that kind of thing. And so it's them kind of being bewildered by, oh, I'm finally feeling feelings for someone, but it's someone of the same gender? Question mark.
Right.
And so like it deals with that kind of like confusion of, oh, this is what romantic feelings feels like, but also the added, I guess, confusion of it's someone of the same gender. And it kind of like slowly builds into that, which I really like.
Yeah, it's a very nice, gradual, very shoujo-esque in a way, but it doesn't necessarily fall into the same pitfalls because it is kind of, I feel like it feels pretty clear and honest about what it's about. So
yeah,
and obviously, like it's nice that it's gay. I mean, I don't know how to put that any other way. It's like if this was about like a straight couple, I would kind of be like over it. I'd just be like, I mean, this is kind of cute, but like I feel like a lot of shoujo is like kind of like this implicitly.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's valuable that we get something like this that's not necessarily
right.
Yeah, it's not like a titillating thing. It's like an actual story about two people's actual relationship, which is nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. I like this. I've read the manga for this, but not super far, and I don't quite remember what happens in it, but it's very, very approachable and sweet, and I love the visuals of the anime. It's very pretty.
It's super pretty.
If it were in any other like configuration, I would kind of like it if they also explored like, well, these are people that don't ever feel those feelings, right? But I mean, I'll give it a pass, right? It's just like, all right. You've done one thing, so it's fine if you don't do the other one.
Maybe another time. Or
maybe another
that
time.
It's later in the series and they have
That's
it with
true.
different characters.
That's true. Yeah. It could easily happen then. But yeah, it's sweet. It's nice. It is a very comfortable watch. And it's a very soft show.
Soft.
You'll feel very soft watching it. Yeah. Yes. All right. Let's talk about that time I got reincarnated as a slime, or Tensei Shitara Slime Dattaken, which is Suraimu. So the slime anime is an isekai anime about a salaryman who gets stabbed, dies, and then becomes a slime.
He gets stabbed in the stupidest way, by the way.
He gets stabbed by just some random dude running with a knife, and then he dies, and then he becomes a slime.
Yeah.
And his special slime power is that he can vor anything.
Like, literally, this is the 4 anime of this season. We have to have one every season now.
We have to have at least one every season, and this is it. It's... I mean, as far as isekai goes, I'm surprised that this wasn't adapted earlier because it's one of the better ones. I would hold it up as, like, the gold standard of isekais.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Yeah. The thing about it is, and I have a lot of thoughts about isekai as a genre, and if you're not familiar with it, isekai means another world, and it is essentially this trope or setup where someone gets sent to another world and they have to cope with that.
Yeah.
So the reason I like this is because it takes all of the tropes that isekai is really known for and just does them really well.
Yes.
As far as us, it's funny because I've said this, but it's funny that we got the reverse isekai before we got the regular isekai, because we have a lot of these like parody shows like Konosuba or these subversive shows like ReZero before we actually got things like Slime, and I'm imagining that at some point we'll get like Remonster or something, and at some point the Spider anime is supposed to come out. There's a manga where it is the same setup as Slime, except she comes as like the weakest little spider and has to fight her way up, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I don't like what they did with that anime because it initially gave her like these kind of desu eyes instead of the non-desu eyes that the regular manga has. So I don't know about
They had to
that.
up her anime appeal.
I know,
or
but
else
they
no
did
one
it
would watch.
They did it in like a really weird way. It's like they turned her from looking like a chibi spider into Toriel from Undertale, which is odd.
Okay.
I'll show you a picture later.
Okay.
Because you have to understand just how weird it is.
Okay.
But yeah, that time I got reincarnated as a slime. The slime anime is it's a really fun RPG style fantasy adventure.
Yeah.
It's fun because it's and I think this is to some extent becoming or has been the standard for isekai shows, where it's kind of like the reverse of a traditional fantasy story, because a traditional fantasy story centers around the adventure, whereas a lot of isekai stories center around, well, I mean, staying in one place and sheltering up. It is a lot of like this slow progression kind of civilization building, right? It's like if you've ever played Civilization, Sid Meier's Civilization, it feels a lot like that in how it gradually progresses and everyone just gets like slightly better over time. But I mean, it's first and foremost, it's just done really well. Like, it's just fun to watch.
Yeah.
It does a really good job of characterizing all the minor characters.
Mm-hmm.
And the rules of the world make some amount of sense. They're pretty consistent. Obviously, it's an RPG style fantasy, and if that's not your jam, then this isn't going to be necessarily something that you like.
Yeah, it's interesting having watched, Overlord recently and then watching this, because they're similar in ways in that you have the main character who is like the most OP of the OPs, and then slowly builds up like their town, their starting village, and then their reputation as a result. But they go in completely different directions, right? Like, of course, like one's an undead and the other one is a slime. And they both have like these elements that are very RPG, very, very D&D in a way, in terms of like in Overlord, it's the D&D campaign in which you're the bad guy. And then in the slime anime, it's the D&D campaign in which you make friends with all the monsters.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I think the thing that's like kind of fun about it is how it leverages its RPG elements, because, I mean, funnily enough, it's one of those things where you don't like, it's just a part of the world and you're not really supposed to acknowledge it in some of these shows. Whereas in shows like Overlord and Goblin Slayer, it's like very overt, just like, this is Dungeons and Dragons. We are playing Dungeons and Dragons right now. Whereas with the slime anime and a lot of other isekais, it's very vague and supposed to just be part of the world, where it's like, yeah, there's just like, grades of rarity, etc. It's non-numerical is the way that I would put it. Like, they don't put numbers to things necessarily. It's just...
That's true. Yeah, they don't say level something something or tier something something magic,
Right, it's just like, they evolved. This is strong. This is weak.
This is strong village chief. This is weak village chief.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as far as an isekai goes, I think every part of it is charming enough that it's worth giving a watch.
Yeah.
And it's like the first like traditional isekai that we've gotten in a while that's actually good, because Overlord and Konosuba don't count.
They're subversive isekais.
Yeah
I really, really enjoy this anime, and I would say give the first episode a watch and you'll understand what its charm is about. And if that's your jam, then go for it, because the rest of the show is going to be like that, but better as you go.
Yeah. It's interesting because it maintains this line, this like balancing act between having like actual tension and being like an idyllic slice of life where, because the main character is so OP, there's no sense of danger that comes in, which I think is actually an integral part of a lot of isekais, where the safety of the main character is like, it's unquestioned, right? It's It's like, of course, the main character is so strong that nothing could possibly threaten them. And that is... And I have a lot of theories for why that is the case and why that has arisen as one of the pillars of the genre. But that's for another time. So...
Sure. I mean, I've actually... I can't remember the name of it, but I think I've watched at least one isekai where, you know, that wasn't the case, but then that lends itself into a completely different feeling. Isekai, right? It's a lot more dark and dramatic versus like the fun romp that the slime anime is, you know?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. That's why Re:Zero is so good in comparison to a lot of other isekai shows.
Mm-hmm.
It's because, you know, he comes into this fantasy world and then he just sucks. Like, he's just a normal dude with no powers.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself is very subversive.
Sure.
My isekai recommendation of the week is also a manga called Different World Hospitality Meals. It is an isekai show about cooking.
Oh.
Yeah. It's good. It's very good.
I mean, it's about food, so.
It's about food. So how could I not just
how
really
could you not
it?
recommend it?
Yeah. So yeah, if you like RPG flavored fantasy with civilization kingdom building aspects and you think it's funny when you watch the slime bounce around, then yeah, I mean, give this show a watch. The animation is pretty good. Like there's no faults I can find with it. It's pretty fluid, pretty fun.
They know how to animate a slime, though.
They know how to animate a slime, yes, and that's the important part.
It's really important.
Yeah, it's somewhat fan service-y at times, but it's not. I will say it's nothing like super gratuitous.
No, it's not. It's there usually for humorous effects.
Yeah, it's very. It's just. I mean, it's like very anime-esque fan service.
Yeah,
and like tasteful fan service, not like over the top, like we did in the early 2000s, early to late 2000s. Yeah.
So next we have Run with the Wind, or Kazen ga Suyoku Fuiteru, and it's basically Haikyuu but with running college boys, and they're dealing with life because we all know college is a really coming of age moment in people's lives.
It's true. College is in fact where you come of age. I am still coming of age myself. Yeah,
it's made by Production IG, who, I mean, they made Haikyuu, so if it looks like Haikyuu, it's because it's made by the same people.
It looks like Haikyuu. It looks like Haikyuu, but the boys are bigger.
Yeah, they're bigger. They're it's like they stretch them vertically.
I was gonna say they're not even bigger. They're just taller. Like, they're the same width, they're just taller.
Like, I'm pretty sure even their heads are a little bit taller, too.
Yeah. I think they've been stretched a little bit.
Yeah, but if you enjoy Haikyuu, then I think this could be up your alley in terms of, like, the characterization and the storytelling are both very, very strong. Like, the characters are so well done.
Yeah. I will say that it is. So this is based off of a novel by the same person who wrote The Great Passage, which is a novel about two dudes writing a dictionary. Which, that premise sounds so boring, but apparently it's pretty good. I wanted to watch it, but I never had the time to pick it up. But yeah, I mean, I will say that the characterization is really strong. You get a very good idea of each of the characters immediately, right?
Right.
You get that picture just... It's clear that the person writing this story knows how to write characters.
Yes.
Which is good, because... Which is good, because, you know, this is a show that will live and die by how good its characters are.
Yeah, because it's a lot slower paced than something like Haikyuu, which is like, volleyball action, look at these boys run and jump. This is just, these boys are learning to run so that they can take, you know, they can participate in the big running race.
Right, the big race, that one.
Yeah, that one. And
exactly.
they're all, well, not all of them. Most of them are newbies to running, and they kind of get roped in by their scheming, well, now team captain, I guess. And they're slowly training to become better and strong enough to participate. And it's really, really interesting. I'm so excited to watch more.
Yeah. I mean, I'm honestly still waiting a little bit for when it's going to get exciting. But because it is a little slow at the start. It's very
yes,
like contemplative the pace is.
Yes.
And this is a show that's going to be hard to watch if you're not immediately captured by the characters.
Yes.
But it does build sympathy and joy for them or attachment to them quite early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I ended up liking the characters really pretty quickly.
Yeah. They're dumb college students. It's really it's yeah.
It's incredibly relatable in some instances.
It's super super relatable and it's really funny. It is.
Yeah.
I feel like it's gonna start to ramp up like really fast.
Yeah.
Or build up gradually.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that is, I think, a matter of taste. I personally think it is a good way to structure a story, especially one that is like this, where obviously the people who are running aren't runners, most of them, so they have to train. So we're kind of following the same arc with how the plot moves, where it starts kind of slow.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it gradually builds up until it's like, running, basically.
I think the plot does a really good job of mimicking basically their pace, or like the pace of a runner.
Yeah.
It's not always going to be like sprinting or whatever, especially in a marathon. It's going to be like slowly building up your stamina, slowly working on your speed and your times, So right. I'm interested in seeing how it'll develop later on when, they do try to race other schools and try to participate in the big race.
I also think it has one of the strongest ensemble casts. Like, there are 10 main characters.
Yeah.
And they're all good.
They're all good. They're all very separate from each other. You're like, oh, it's that boy. Oh, it's the twins. Oh, it's so-and-so. It's really, really cool.
Yeah. It is expertly written, and I have high hopes for the rest of the season.
Yes. Me too.
Which is funny because we're recording this and we've watched half of the season. Basically, we're
they don't know that. No,
we're
they don't
so
know.
far into the season.
No one knows that.
We're publishing this at a time when it's like it's so fun.
We've definitely only just begun fall. We didn't
Get
talk about
outta
Halloween
here.
at all.
We've watched so much of the fall season. We'll do better for winter, I swear.
Yeah, whatever. Don't make promises you can't keep.
Hey, that's a promise I can keep. Maybe, probably, hopefully. Okay. Well, okay, you know what? How about we talk about Zombieland Saga instead?
Okay.
Zombieland Saga is a lot. It's bonkers. Zombieland.
Oh man.
Okay. To start, first of all, it has the best opening of the season. It's like
so
hands
good.
down.
Oh my god.
It has the best opening, and I will accept no arguments for any other ones. It has an amazing song. It blends that song with a super energetic and fun opening animation sequence, which is styled from all the way from like American comic book, like graphic novels with like the stippling of the black dots to like tokusatsu Super Sentai. It's weird. I don't get it at all, but it's like it's super good.
Yes.
And the premise of this show is that some dude has gathered a bunch of zombie girls to be idols for a place called Saga, which is a town in Japan, or I guess like a prefecture. I don't know. It's a place in Japan, a place. Yeah. And the tourism industry has completely died there, so he's going to try to revive it by using these zombie girls, two of which were idols at some point.
Yeah,
So,
like it's implied that he zombified them and brought them back, but they haven't fully explained that because the guy
Right.
is so zany that it's hard to pin anything down.
it's so weird and so fun. And so there's a lot of really good energy to it. It's by Studio Mappa, and we're getting good Mappa, so the animation is good and not terrible.
So good.
Yeah. It's super vibrant, super fun. Like it's really funny too. All the gags land really well.
Oh, it's hilarious. Oh my god, I didn't expect this anime to like win me over as much as it did.
Yeah, every episode of this anime is like legitimately a treat where you're not really sure what to expect going in, and then it just surprises you anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Where the first episode was like, oh yeah, okay, we're getting some zombie shenanigans. That's pretty funny. And then the second episode comes in, and they're like, doing whatever, setting up for the second half of the episode. They're practicing. And then they have that bit where they just like rap at each other, and it's just like,
oh my god,
whoa,
the rap battle was so good.
This is it.
Yeah, this is it. That's the moment when you know whether you're hooked or not, is that rap battle.
it comes out of left field, and it just man, it won my heart immediately.
思い出したらなんか変わんのか仲間に会えねえたまごっちだってもう育てらんねえ私ら終わってんだよもう何も変わりゃしねえよまだ終わっちゃいねえだろむしろ始まったばっかだろ前に進むしかねえじゃなきゃ生きる屍まだ動きギリギリ考えれる限り逃げずにやれよ復興に来いよ特攻隊長
Yeah.
It is so good. Zombieland Saga is so good. It's so fun to watch.
Yeah, and they do a different genre of music every episode.
Yeah,
which is awesome.
They start with metal, and then they go to rap, and then then they go other places like actual idol genres, like poppy music.
Yeah.
And now they're filming commercials for chicken restaurants.
Yeah, they did a commercial jingle.
Yep. Yeah,
it's amazing.
I'm really curious to see where this goes as well, because it seems like they are starting to move in the direction of uncovering some of the mysteries around this idol group and explaining to us finally what the heck is even going on.
Yeah, who are these girls?
Yeah. I'm super curious, because there's a lot of like unanswered questions that I really want to know the answer to. And
I need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Highly recommend. At least watching the first episode. Oh my gosh, at least watch the first 5 minutes. It was so, oh my god.
Yes.
The introduction was so crazy. Yeah. Next we have Hina My Resume, which is a sumo anime.
It's so good.
It's kind of great though. It's like it's very shonen sports anime whatever, but like the music in the anime, both the opening and the ending, are both really good. And it does a nice job showcasing sumo, and you get to see lots of boys of lots of different body types.
That's true. It's kind of understated how nice that it is that all of the boys are super beefy, except for the one boy who's like supposed to not be beefy.
Yeah, the weenie boy.
Yeah, weenie boy. Yeah, I love everything about this anime.
Yeah.
Which is rare, because I just don't like sports anime usually.
Yeah, that's what I was surprised by. I was like, oh, you're really enjoying this.
Yeah, but this one really captured me, because it's boys, they're beefy boys, and they're wrestling in the traditional Japanese style. And they have all these like anime-ass moves where they're just like, yeah, 100 Demon Wheel.
Yeah, it's so sports anime, but it's great though.
It is basically watching like a sumo version of Kuroko no Basket.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is
basically.
pretty silly, and I love every moment of it. It's very over the top.
Yeah,
and if nothing else, you should listen to both the opening and the ending theme, because they are jams.
Jams. Yeah.
Let's talk about ssss.gridman or s.gridman.
Did you say all 4 S's?
S.gridman.
Okay.
So this show is based on an old tokusatsu show called Gridman the Hyper Agent, created by the studio that brought you Ultraman, which really explains a lot of things.
Yes, explains so much.
It explains a ton of things. If you're not sure what tokusatsu is, it's just a genre of Japanese television that is full of special effects. Like, Power Rangers is tokusatsu, Kamen Rider is tokusatsu. That's all you need to know. Anyway, the important part of that is that the source material, that Gridman the Hyper Agent is the source material for an American show from the 90s called Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, except cyber is spelled with an S and not a C, which is probably what the SSSS stands for in Gridman.
I believe it.
Yeah. This is an anime where a boy with amnesia fights a big kaiju every week by transforming into Gridman, a big robot man, who is also his dad, I guess.
I mean, we don't know because he has the amnesias.
Right. I mean, but he acts like his dad. He acts
like an Oto-san.
He's just like, Yuta, do you wish to talk to old Gridman about your love troubles? I love it.
You like that girl, right?
You like that girl, right? He's like, yeah. So this is animated by Studio Trigger, which
is very pretty.
It means that the animation will be gorgeous. The character design is like 110% Studio Trigger. It's so designed by the people at that studio. It's very particular. And honestly, I'm kind of okay with everything that they make looking the exact same until they finally make something that looks like that and is good. Because God knows Kiznaiver was a disappointment and Darling in the Franxx was a huge disappointment. So hopefully this turns out to be good. So far. And I don't want to jinx it, but so far it's good.
I hope it's a return to form for them because so far it is.
Yeah. I mean, anything with giant robots should be a return to form, but obviously Darling in the Franxx shows us that that's not exactly the case. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like easy and hard to describe because it's basically just a Monster of the Week show where a giant robot boy fights a giant monster or two at the same time.
Yeah.
But it looks like they're building towards some longer arc, which I'm interested in.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of mystery surrounding where the robots and the kaiju come from and why they're, battling it out. They don't really say it's just these kids that are wrapped up in the conflicts. And then that on top of the fact that the kids themselves have some drama because, they're in school and they have hormones and such. So
it's true. All of them have a lot of hormones.
Yeah.
They're just all horny all the time. Yeah, no, it's interesting because the show itself is, I feel like it can be repetitive for some people. I personally don't think it is. I think they vary it enough, but it depends on how much you like Monster of the Week shows. Like, honestly, I would be happy if I just got a giant robot fighting a giant monster for 10 minutes every week. So, I mean, this is completely up my alley. Yeah. But some people might feel differently. Like, some people didn't like Pacific Rim. I did. It's one of my favorite movies. Yeah, I mean, everything about it is like animated really well, and the CG is really, really good. And it has a potential reason for using CG that is like endemic to the world. It's incorporated into the world itself. A term called diegetic, which I learned from my fancy. That's actually not true. I didn't learn it from literature. I learned it from a game design class I took.
Huh.
Yeah, but it is a term that comes from film study where you were talking about the different kinds of things that exist that give you information. And so this is potentially diegetic because the way that our main boya fuses with Gridman is he has to use this like computer from like 1995
Yeah.
that they call junk.
Yeah.
And that kind of cyber element to it potentially has some connection to to the use of CG. And the kaiju also are like modeled with clay and then brought to life by some evil robot man and his evil daughter, who is presumably a human person.
Presumably.
Yeah, there's a lot of mystery about it. I think there are a lot of questions that I wish to see answered. Like, how come no one remembers the kaiju attacks after they're over? When people die from kaiju attacks, they're just erased entirely, more or less. They're like, the world retcons their existence.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious about where this is going to go, because they've set up some of the characters and they've set up some potential arcs that are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only a matter of time until they start colliding. So I'm excited. I like Monster of the Week as is, so I would be satisfied even if it was just like that. It's like, oh, Gridman uses a new weapon every week.
Sure. And I think it'll be that way for a while, right? Like quite a few Studio Trigger works are kind of like that. They fall into a rhythm where they start repeating that rhythm in the middle of the show, and then they slowly start building towards, like, you know, the real plot and the real mysteries going on, and explaining like where all of this fantastical stuff is coming from. And so I think this will probably follow along those lines in a really good way, if you're any fan of Studio Trigger's works. And I was honestly not expecting to like this anime as much as I did as well, because of Darling in the Franxx, you know. I mean, even though that was, like, you know, a Studio Trigger collaboration, right? It still burned me enough that I was like, I don't know, Studio Trigger.
It's all Darling in the Franxx's fault.
But this is slowly winning my confidence back into them. And I was just like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, the character design is very Studio Trigger, and that's like good and bad, because the character designs are quite memorable and they're pretty strong, but like also they look like every other character that Studio Trigger has designed. So
yeah,
you know, your mileage may vary there. And I mean, another thing is it's like very heavy and it's subtly heavy on the fan service. There's a lot of like male gaze, like booty shots that go on.
I don't know. This latest episode was not subtle at all. They fan serviced that young girl like at least half a dozen times, and I was sick of it. I was actually feeling like I was like so massively disappointed, because typically when Studio Trigger fan services, right, it's like something along the lines of, like, you know, Kill la Kill or Gurren Lagann, you know, like over the top, like, you know what it's about, like they're upfront about it. But then this one, with SSS, whatever, Gridman, they started off with like you know, like a almost like very homely kind of style, you know, with all these kids, and then they're kind of like getting situated at school or whatever. And then suddenly there's a swimsuit episode, this past episode, and then it's just all about fan serving this one girl in particular, fan servicing her. It's not even like the main like girl that the main character has a crush on. It's the antagonist girl.
Listen, Renu, it is the law that all villains have to be sexy. Everybody knows this. Listen, little girl, sexy. That big robot man in the monitor, super sexy. Kaiju, sexy.
Okay.
Yeah, it is very much like, if you don't enjoy, or you're hyper aware of like the male gaze in composition and shots, then I mean this show is gonna put you off a little bit, because it is very much like, do you want to see a butt? Here's a butt. Do you want to see some thighs? Here's some thighs. And you're just like, oh, Studio Trigger.
Right.
There you go.
You see this episode and you're like, oh, Studio Trigger. But the fact that it was such a switch from earlier in the series is what put me off. And I was just like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, whereas slime isn't necessarily gratuitous, like this feels a little gratuitous sometimes. Even if it's not like even if it's not like they're like actually having like really over the top fan service moments. It's actually almost worse because it's like so supposed to be kind of subtle and
exactly.
And kind of gross.
The contrast was what threw me off. Like the fact that they fan serviced her wasn't even the most gratuitous thing that they've done compared to all their other series, right? But the fact that that they switched it up was what really bothered me.
Yeah.
But aside from that was literally my only gripe about the show. Just like aside from that one episode, everything else has been really, really spot on.
Yes, it's true. Everything else is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. High hopes. I mean, okay. I should point out though, we're 6 episodes into it, so I feel like we're gonna engage the like end game plot pretty soon because there's only 12 episodes.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm here for it. All right.
So next we have Skullface bookseller Honda, which is also known as Gaikotsu Shotenin Honda-san. And if you haven't seen a million clips and memes of this anime already, then you just need to watch it.
It is a special yaoi book. Jesus Christ!
It's a special yaoi book. Jesus Christ!
Yes.
It's so good.
It's about a bookshop where all of the employees have different non-human faces.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine for anonymity, but also, stylistic choice on the author's part.
It's so good. It's so funny.
It's based on his actual experiences at working as a bookseller in this bookshop.
Yes, it's super real. Like
if you've
ever worked retail, this is the anime for you. You'll feel it in your bones.
Yes. Plus, it's funny in general, just because you know this would have happened to them.
Yes,
Yeah.
And I love how self-aware it is too, where they're just like, so everybody who watched episode 1 and wants to work in a bookstore, thank you, but please don't. Like they know.
Yeah.
It's very funny and it's very keyed into. It's very self-aware, I would say.
Yeah, and there are quite a few, some subtle, some not so subtle references to a lot of other different, authors and anime and manga, and it's really, really quite good and relevant to what we're watching right now.
Oh my god! Oh, that was so funny. They make references to Gintama. They make references to Golden Kamui, amongst other things. They talk a lot about BL, which is like
the BL
so
discussion.
Good.
It's so funny.
It's so funny because I can't imagine working in a Japanese bookstore where that must be just hyper common.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be.
Their BL section is enormous. It's usually like in the book tower.
Yeah.
In I think Shibuya was where it is. I can't remember. But there's a whole floor just for the BL and the yaois.
Listen, people love their BL, I guess.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing more to say about it. It's good. Each episode is only 12 minutes. It's really funny, highly relatable. Watch it.
Yes, watch it.
Okay, let's...
Akihabara, sorry.
That's okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know why I thought it was Shibuya. I don't know, whatever. Anyway.
I don't know.
The book tower.
Let's move on from something that is highly relatable to something that is 0% relatable. So, jingai-san no Yomei, which is, the word Yomei is bride, right?
Yes.
So this is a show, it's a short form show, so each episode is only 3 minutes, where the premise is that there are high school boys that go to high school, and that there are, like, yokai-esque creatures, like supernatural creatures, that just use the high school yearbook as a wife
catalog.
The wife catalog, right? Where they just pick one that they like, and then they have to get married, and the boys don't really get a say in it.
And the boys are the brides.
And it's everything about it is really weird and cute, but also cute in a really weird, almost disconcerting way.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, it would be one thing It would be one thing if it was a show about people that were married to supernatural creatures. It would be another thing if it was a show about high schoolers married to supernatural creatures. It would be another thing if it were high school boys married to supernatural creatures. But the fact that it is all of those things, the boys are the brides, and the yearbook is a wife catalog, all of that is so much. It amounts to so much.
And they don't super explain these, these creatures.
They don't explain anything about it. There's no explanation whatsoever.
The creatures don't talk.
The creatures don't talk. I don't... And, like, for sure, I guarantee you 100% for sure, this is someone's fetish. Someone wrote this because they can't get off unless it is boys who are in high school who are the wives of supernatural creatures who they were married to against their will.
But then they learn to accept it because their spouse is so cute.
Yeah, which I guess it's fine. Sure, why not?
Well, the one boy that we saw in the latest episode threw himself onto the table and was marry me, pick me.
That boy really wanted to marry the bandage person.
Yeah.
I understand little about this show, and every episode I watch, I understand even less. It's vaguely cute.
Yeah, the creature designs are really cute.
Like, everything about it is super cute, but the kind of underlying narrative of it is, like, really weird and disconcerting. And I don't know how to feel exactly.
Like,
I feel slightly uncomfortable. Yeah,
you're slightly uncomfortable, and it's just weird enough that you're having a really hard time suspending your disbelief, right?
Okay. One of my friends described this show perfectly. Okay. She says, I feel dirty having watched this, but I don't know why. And that's it. I don't know why, but it just feels wrong. Like I'm peering into someone's private fantasy.
I think I mostly only feel uncomfortable, like, for example, when the main character gets, like, a little too worked up over his spouse's tail.
Yes. It's a little weird.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, we're crossing some lines here into,
Okay, it's more than a little weird, yes.
Yeah.
But it's cute, so if that description didn't completely put you off, I guess you could watch it, maybe.
If you want to check it out, it's a short form, like we said, so...
I don't get it. My brain doesn't comprehend what it's watching. I black out for 3 minutes, and then I wake up having had the oddest dream. I'm just like, okay, that didn't feel right, but sure.
Yeah, like even it vaguely reminds me of the Mummy anime, the little tiny Mummy anime.
Yeah, but it does actually.
Even that one had more premise and sensibility, like sensible background than this, right? Granted, it was longer episodes, but still, like, it felt more established than this, this is vaguely uncomfortable, and
it just gets into it, like right into it, and you're not really sure what's happening, but whatever.
Well, we're watching it.
We are watching it.
Anyway, next is Golden Kamuy 2. It's the second season of Golden Kamuy.
Yes, it's still airing, and it's still good, but there's no more trembling in the anger, so that makes me sad.
Yes, but you get them enjoying food in the intro instead.
Trembling in the anger.
They don't need to tremble in the anger when they're enjoying food.
I actually learned, and I should have known all along, but I realized the reason that Trembling in the Anger is so good is because it is by the same band that did the opening for Log Horizon, the database. Which is I love that opening a lot. And the fact that they kept it for 2 whole seasons is just, I mean, yeah, why not? Sure.
Yeah, I mean, don't fix what ain't broke. But in this case, trembling in the anger didn't fit with them being happy and beautiful and enjoying their food. So
that's true. I love how the anime acknowledges that the real core premise of the show is just eating food.
I know.
Despite all the fun, adventurous treasure hunting, all the gruesome murder, all the weird serial killer skinning, tanning, turning people into clothes, none of that matters. It's all about eating food in the wild. Yeah.
I told y'all this was the camping anime.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the weirdest sequel to the camping anime.
Oh man, but yeah, Golden Conway, the second season, it picks up exactly where the first season left off and continues the plot, the really well written, amazing plot. Introduces more characters. You get to know previous characters that were kind of mysterious and whatever. And it is just as exciting as before. And I'm still super curious on where the plot is going.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I know where it's going, but
you know where it's going because you read the manga.
I can't wait for you to see some of the later stuff, especially some of the stuff when they all get into this big mega group and then they have a lot of shenanigans.
Oh boy.
I legitimately cannot wait for you to experience this.
Yeah, their groups are already starting to combine, so I'm ready.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun because they combine and they split, and then they combine and they split. So
yeah,
it is the dynamic of the group is always different. It's super fun.
Yeah.
But let's move on to something that I watched, but you probably didn't.
Nah.
Okay, I watched Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. Which is the premise of the show is that a girl is starting to be unable to be seen by the people around her, so she just dresses as like a bunny girl sometimes. And our main character sees that and is like, what the fuck is happening here? What are you doing? And they try to figure out what's happening. And everything about it, like the look of the show, the premise of the show, all looks like pretty trashy, to be perfectly honest, like to be perfectly frank. It kind of feels like light novel schlock. But it is in fact created by creator Hajime Kamoshida, who is the creator of The Pet Girl of Sakuraso, which is another show that initially looks very trashy, but actually turns out to be pretty good.
Okay.
So that show also tugs at your heartstrings. And I'm not going to lie, I enjoyed this show a lot more than I thought I would. It really did surprise me with just how good it was.
Okay.
It is a very honest and clear look at the high school anime like genre. It's very thoughtful and measured, and the characterization is great. Like surprisingly, you'll like all the characters. And it's interesting because I think it actually grapples with some legitimately impactful thematic stuff. Okay, I'll preface this with saying that it's a show that's completely up my alley. Like, it is a show that is, I mean, set in high school, but is good, first of all. It has good characterization. The characters are like, you're somewhat cold, but secretly caring senpai. And you're really sarcastic and blunt main boya. And already I'm just like, I'm here for it. And then you have like scientist girl who keeps drinking coffee out of beakers, and I'm like, yes, I like this character. But yeah, it's the feel of it is very much that of a good high school. I think it's interesting. I think you can always tell, but from the first episode, the tone of a high school anime and how good it will be as a result of that. And this is one of those. It feels a lot to me like Oregairu. It feels a lot to me like in some ways it feels a lot like Haruhi Suzumiya. And the thing that I was thinking about in relation to this show is that it feels like if Kokoro Connect was good.
Okay.
Because I like Kokoro Connect. I think it does a good job with how it handles its characters, but I think the premise of Kokoro Connect is very contrived. And it's really, really, really hard to suspend your disbelief, even though I love the way that those characters are characterized.
Okay.
So, but this show does a much better job, even though it's about something like maybe even considerably more supernatural.
Okay.
Where there is a thing called like adolescent syndrome or something. Yeah, I think adolescent syndrome that just has these like effects on the world, and nobody knows if it's real or not. But you know, as the viewers of this show, like it's real.
Okay.
But it's very interesting because it's centered around relationships and social pressure, and it deals with all of the kind of nitty gritty workings of like being a social person in high school.
Mm.
Like what really surprised me about it was how smartly it handles its themes, because it problematizes the idea of kuki, which is a Japanese term that means air or atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And that's generally referred to as like, you know, the social feel, right? It's like there's a term called KY or kuki yomenai, which means you can't read the air or you can't read the atmosphere. So that's somebody who doesn't know or can't follow social conventions, right?
Like can't read the room kind of thing.
Right, exactly. Like someone who can't read the room. Perfect. Right? And it problematizes that idea by saying that these are kind of invisible assumptions that we make and absorb without thinking about it, and they can have, you know, dangerous consequences when people who fall outside of that, you know, are left by the wayside, right? It is the reason why the bunny girl senpai can't be seen, right? It's because everybody just kind of decided one day that, like, subconsciously decided that they couldn't see her, and that idea spread because everyone was reading the room. They could read those social cues, and then it manifests physically, which in a way that's really interesting. And the first arc of it is actually resolved fairly quickly in the first 3 or so episodes. I thought it would go on a little longer, but it actually wraps up pretty quickly, which I think is a plus. I think they don't overstay their welcome with how they do it. And the actual arc is really sweet as well. And then they start delving into other characters and their experiences with like adolescent syndrome. And it's very, very interesting. And I'm like really curious to watch all of like the rest of it so that I can talk about all the other stuff, because it's super, super good. I mean, if you don't like high school anime, you're not gonna like this, but I think it's unusually intellectual.
I like the sounds of that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like, it just resonates with me personally, so that's part of why I like it. It feels a lot like Oregairu.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite anime, so I suspect I'll like this quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Tell me about Archer Boys.
Oh, okay. So I watched Tsurune Kazemai Koko Kyudobu, and it is KyoAni Archers. So the feeling that I'm getting from it so far is if you like Free, then you'll like this. But it's a little less... it's a slightly different feel than Free. It's not just about admiring boys swimming. It's about boys being friends with each other, and they're basically kind of... Well, the main character is rather unwillingly pulled into the archery club, and it has that... I guess that very typical sports anime plot structure of there's at least one character who doesn't want to do the sport anymore because of some past trauma. And in this case, it's the main character. And you learn that his trauma it stems from something that happened in his past. It might have something to do with the fact that he lost his mom. And irregardless, he has basically this anxiety of whenever he aims at the target, he forces himself to, not hit it, or he gets too panicky, right? And he isn't able to hit it, even though he is very skilled at archery and is perfectly capable of hitting the target. And it is very pretty, as expected of KyoAni. And I'm interested in watching more because in general, I like Keone's work. And so if you, in general, like their work as well, then you'll probably like this too. It's a very gentle and kind of slow anime, but I think it has some nice characters in there, and I think it'll slowly expand the cast as they do with most of their works, and at the very least, you'll have something really, really pretty to look at.
See, what's funny is that, you know, you described it as like slow and gentle. That's every Keone story ever.
I mean, yes. I mean, sometimes they're like with Free, it's a little more eventful, like during the races and stuff, and maybe they'll do that too, where it's just like, oh, maybe during archery competitions they'll you know, ramp up the pace a little bit. But yeah, so far it's very, very gentle.
Very gentle. I love it.
Very gentle archery boys.
I love it.
And there's some girls there too, but the main cast is
right, but
boys.
like girls in sports anime, what even?
Well, thankfully I think this club is a co-ed club.
Oh so my god!
There are ladies, but the main cast so far has been boys.
We're truly entering an era of equality. Where there can be both girls and boys in the same sports club. I mean,
and it doesn't just have to be a manager girl.
I was gonna say, everybody knows that the dynamic of sports anime is purposefully swung one side or the other to accommodate homoerotic fantasies. You think I'm joking?
I mean,
well, no, you know I'm not joking because you've watched Haikyuu.
Yeah, I know you're not joking because I watch so many sports anime.
It's like it really is like that.
It's also because of, you know, sports being divided into separate genders, but it is a lot of homoerotic feelings.
Listen, Random, all you have to do is focus on a sport that is like, you know, not right. Like,
yeah,
I want equal opportunity sports anime where anybody can bang anybody.
Slams fist down.
This is very important to me. Which I it's funny that I say that because I don't even watch sports anime.
Yeah, you don't even watch.
Yeah.
You're just watching Sumo Boys right now and Running Boys.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's true. I'm watching a surprising amount of sports anime this season.
Yeah, you're watching two.
An abnormal amount, I would say. Listen, I read Kuroko no Basket.
I watched all of Kuroko no Basket, and I was like, even though I finished all of it, I was like, I'm not here for this. It's okay. It's all right, but
it's okay.
I'm more here for other sports anime, which is, you know,
yeah, it was solid. It was solidly okay. All right, well, let's talk about Goblin Slayer because we have to talk about Goblin Slayer.
I don't know anything about Goblin Slayer except for people's trauma from Goblin Slayer.
Because that, I mean, it's and like obviously content warning, like it's the sexual assault thing.
Yeah.
Because you know, it turns out that the way that goblins reproduce is not by having sex with goblins, and let's just say that there aren't a lot of people that willingly oblige that.
Oh no.
So
I didn't know that was the reason.
Yeah. Well, it goes about in the direction that you would expect, and the important thing is that 1, it's gratuitous, 2, it's unnecessary,
oh no.
3, it sucks, and 4, none of the rest of the show is like that. Yeah. So for some reason, the first episode decides that it's just gonna ramp up. I mean, okay, I know why it is, because it happens in the manga and the original like light novel, or maybe a novel. I don't remember. It's because it comes from the source material that this small little fact about goblins, but that still doesn't change the fact that it is, you know, the way that it's shot is gratuitous, right?
Small little fact.
It is like, and this is one of the most important ways that we have to look at visual media around like what is shown and how something is depicted.
Yeah.
Because it is contrary to the message that they're trying to send, that goblins are bad because they're rape demons. It is contrary to that message to have that be what you're trying to say, and then have the framing of the shots be like supposed to be kind of titillating, which is like, yeah, that sucks. That sucks a lot. That's not good.
No.
And it's not like it isn't like it's not like super over the top, but it's still just like framed in a way that is not tasteful. It's bad. And the worst part about it is that there is stuff that happens like later that implies also that sort of stuff, but not in a way that is that gratuitous, right? It's a
so
lot
they do it more
tasteful.
tastefully later.
They there's a lot of scenes that do it a lot more tastefully. I don't think there's anything ever as bad as the first opening episode. And
so because the main premise is about, the Goblin Slayer, right? The guy
Right.
who goes around killing goblins. Do you think that they made it so graphic in order to do that whole like, this is his motivation, look at how bad these goblins are kind of deal?
So they do, right? And it's supposed to, because it's a shortcut, right? It's lazy writing, just to be like, this is a thing that we all know is inherently bad. There's no
Right.
excusing it. So
Right.
we're going to make these people or these creatures do it so
Right.
that you'll immediately be turned off of them.
Right, and
Now-
you'll root for the main character and understand why he's doing
Right.
what he's doing.
And so when a crazy maniac comes and starts committing genocide, you're like,
Right.
yeah, they deserve that, right?
Right.
But it's like it's just such a like it's so lazy. I don't know.
That's just not the way to go about it.
Well, even and like it's possible to do it tastefully too, and the problem is that they haven't.
Yeah.
And the manga suffers from this problem too. There's an excellent video by Mother's Basement that breaks this down perfectly, and
Okay.
it is surprisingly. I will say that I was pleasantly surprised with the way he handles the issue, and he does it really well because I think he studied film and video games and stuff. So
Sure.
yeah, I'll definitely link that video,
Okay.
and you can watch that if you like. It'll describe everything that I could possibly say. I mean, it's just the first episode is going to be a huge turnoff, and that's okay. I think a lot of people are not going to be able to watch this anime because of that aspect of it. And like, if that is a thing that is, if that is a thing that is going to make you not watch it, then like, don't watch the show.
Right.
Because
Like,
it's not
feel
worth
free
it.
to not force yourself to watch it.
Right. Because everything from this point on, I'm going to praise it for. Because it is, everything past that point is actually really good. Like, here's the problem, right? Is that this is a show, and I mentioned this earlier, that is like
Okay.
literally D&D. They're just like, we're playing Dungeons and Dragons. They don't
Yeah.
say it outright, but they talk about gods casting dice, and I swear every possible chance they get, they show dice or they roll dice or they like have the dice rolling sound. They're like,
Wow. Okay.
like it's so obvious. Every part of it is like so D&D.
Right.
And it's like it's actually super fun to watch this crazy psychomaniac kill a bunch of goblins in creative and disturbing ways.
Right.
And it would have been possible to achieve the same effect without resorting to like cheap, lazy writing and framing. And it's unfortunate that they had to, but they did. And that sucks. It's edgy, right? Like it's like it's edgy and it's lazy, and it sucks that it has to be that way because the rest of it is actually really good. It has this like very campy D&D, like we're a party feel. Eventually they introduce some more characters and you like get invested in each of them. The big lizard man is a shaman who for some reason is dressed like a Native American, and I'm not super about that. And he's like all about his ancestors, but like, all right, Japan, I get it. You don't understand how any of this works.
Yeah.
And it's not me giving a pass to that. That's just me being like, okay, I get it. I can look past this. But he's voiced by Tomokazu Sugita, so I'm like, all right.
Oh, no.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna like this character, but I'm not gonna like the fact that I do. And like it's like it's such a traditional D&D story. Like you got the dwarf that drinks and is a cleric, and you have the elf archer who thinks she's better than everyone, and you have all those types. It's I think honestly, and this is what I'm gonna say. You can probably find timestamps online for where the bad part ends in the first episode, or you can skip the first episode entirely and you watch it, and you'll get the same experience.
Okay.
In fact, it might arguably be better. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because everything else about it is like, oh, everybody thinks it's weird that there's like just an adventurer that walks around, and even though he's like pretty highly ranked, he does nothing but kill goblins, and like he's also not a good guy, right? Mm-hmm. Like this is important to realize. He's not a good guy, and what he's doing isn't framed as good, but it is framed as something that is necessary, right? Mm-hmm. Where like there's scenes where he goes into like goblin nurseries and he just slaughters all of them, and you're just like, ugh. But you know, he's just like there's a reason that he does it, and it's like cold and cruel, but it's also very logical, and you get it, and you understand the reasoning behind his character. So, you know, all of those things, like it makes for a very good D&D adventure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, aside from bad first impressions, probably the worst first impressions, the rest of it is pretty good, except for, and this is the other major issue. I don't know why, but they don't seem to have any consistency with which they use CG in this show, and the CG is not good. Oh. So the CG is not good, and they use it only for Goblin Slayer, the main character, because he's just a guy that walks around in armor all the time. So obviously that's like not easy to animate. But for some reason, they'll just randomly have shots where he's in CG. It's 1, hyper noticeable, and 2, it's just not good, and 3, it doesn't make sense even when he does it. I don't understand. I legitimately do not, and it like is jarring because it's so random.
Right. Interesting.
That's my other major gripe with the show.
It reminds me of the CG in the latest Overlord season, but in terms of like they actually like selected characters to CG, right? Like
I was gonna say at least the CG in Overlord isn't just god awful.
Yeah, it wasn't. They didn't like flip it back and forth. It was like, okay, well. These creatures are going to be CG'd. That's it. And every shot, basically, except for like maybe a couple that will hand animate, they're going to be CG. And so it's like, okay.
It also makes a lot of sense what they use CG for. Like they use CG for armies. Yeah. Because you don't want to hand animate that. That's fine. Yeah. I get it. And
but they never CG'd Momon's armor, for example.
Right, exactly. They never CG the armor. They never CG any of the like, you know, humanoid characters or any of the main characters. Mm-hmm. They CG some of the like large monster types, but that's fine because it lends to the weird kind of unsettling feeling that it's supposed to convey. That's why I'm fine with like kaiju being always in CG. Yeah, it's I don't know. The CG use in this show is so questionable, and it seems like they don't even need to do it. It's just they do it. Like I don't get it. I just don't understand it. But a CG aside, it looks pretty good.
Okay.
It is a good show. Otherwise, that like is an otherwise good show that is like that leaves like a bad taste in your mouth. So. Yep.
Let's see. It's by Studio White Fox, which they did Steins Gate, Zero.
Those are not action-heavy shows.
ReZero Kara Hajimeru Isekai
Okay.
Seikatsu.
All right. Well, that makes me question the CG even more then. If they did ReZero.
Yeah.
ReZero was
did all the
reasonably
Steins
well
Gate
animated.
and ReZero stuff.
I don't know. Maybe they just got like budget cuts or something. Someone didn't raise their budget and they're just like, this dude walks around in armor all the time. You gotta be kidding me. But yeah. So that's That's it. That's all for the fall 2018 season.
What
are you doing this week?
Up on that.
I know we had to leave on that note, but I mean we can't not talk about it. It's important.
Yeah.
What are you up to this week, and where can we find you?
Oh, I am. Let's see. I will be finishing up an initial decommission this week, hopefully.
Running in the 90s.
Yes, it's just yes, all of that, all of that and more. And I got another commission I need to wrap up too, and then I will be leaving 2 weeks from now for Thanksgiving holiday. So that'll be fun.
That's happening.
Yeah.
I guess I'll be home for that too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it for me, basically. You can find me on Twitter at SwanDrawn, on Twitch and Tumblr at the same name. You can find me on Instagram at swan.drawn.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
How about you?
You can find me at all the places at Literal Soup. If I'm on a place, that's where you find me.
Yeah.
This week I will be I think I have a midterm this week, so I think I'll just be desperately working on homework and school. I mean, obviously I'm gonna get that Dutch oven and try to make some bread.
Bread boy.
I'm gonna get that bread. We'll see how that goes. I'm really excited for it, actually. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I've never had a functioning oven in my life before.
What?
Well, the thing you have to understand is that my family, and supposedly this is something that is quite common in Asian American families, we don't really use the oven as an oven. We use it as pan storage.
Oh my god, yeah, you and every other Asian family, thankfully my family actually bakes things every now and then, or else we'd end up the same way.
We don't know what baking is. We used to make our Thanksgiving turkey in the oven, and that was the only thing we would ever cook in it ever, which meant that there would always be maybe too much dust to be good for you that was burning in there. So we stopped doing that, and now we just order our turkey from Whole Foods.
And now your oven permanently is just pan storage.
Yeah, now it's just permanently pan storage. But I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving. I'm just gonna. Maybe it's because I'm hungry right now. Honestly, I'm so hungry right now. I'm imagining eating a turkey and some stuffing, and it's a good time. It's a good time.
Oh man!
And maybe I'll bring some bread home for Thanksgiving. Maybe I'll bring some bread home.
Yes, be a bread boy for your family.
Yeah, and then I'll be like, we can make turkey sandwiches. Turkey. Although turkey, I feel like is the hardest meat to cook well. It just dries up so easily.
I know, it's so dry.
And then it doesn't taste good because it's dry, and you're like, this sucks. I hate Thanksgiving. I'm just gonna eat stuffing in the corner and cry.
I'm gonna eat pie. Lots and lots of pie.
Oh yeah. See, okay, here I do have a problem though. Here's my Thanksgiving problem, and I think this might be unique to me, or it might be largely applicable to many people. But I'm the kind of person where every year I'm just like, oh man, I want pumpkin pie so bad, and then one bite into the pumpkin pie, I'm like, I'm done with this for the year.
Well, I usually eat apple pie at Thanksgiving.
Maybe I'll make a pie.
And I serve that with vanilla ice cream, that a la mode. Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't make a pie. That would be disastrous. I'm just gonna stick to my bread. All right, yeah, Thanksgiving. That'll be fun.
Yeah,
that'll be fun. I mean, it won't be fun for me because I have class on Wednesday. So that means I finish class on Wednesday at 7, and then I drive home.
Blah.
Which is just fantastic. I love it. I love that so much.
You're here for it.
But I'm here for it. All right. I think we've reached the end of quite a productive fall 2018 season. It's honestly, the season is really good. Everything we've picked up, we've more or less kept up with.
Yeah.
When we've had time to.
Yeah, there's just more stuff that we want to keep up with, but we can't so far because there's so much.
Yeah, I would say that I'm not sure if I'm not sure yet if any of the stuff is super standout aside from Zombieland Saga and obviously personally for me aside from Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai and maybe Slime, but Slime is just kind of it's good for an isekai, so it's good, but not necessarily like super like amazing. It's not blowing my mind. It's just enjoyable to watch. But yeah, I think this season is consistently very good.
Yeah,
I would say across the board, very, very good. Yeah, I'm very happy with it. All right.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll see you in 2 weeks. We're gonna talk about something that I will. We're gonna talk about something. Akechigoro, eat your fucking heart out.
Don't come across any compliments.
Don't. Whoa now. Yikes. Listen, not even Akechigoro deserves so terrible.
No, exactly.
A feat.
That's why I said don't.
That's distressing. Oof. That's a big oof.
Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what's